Hi, my name is Simona Barbu and I teach cello and bass at University of North Dakota here in Grand Forks. Today I'm going to do a little bit of a talk about scales and excerpts for the cello audition materials for NVYO's Symphony Orchestra. For the scales, I would recommend that since there are two scales required, that you try to demonstrate how you can play slow and faster scales. Not too fast, but just a little bit, maybe not one note per bow, more like a 4 note per bow. So I will demonstrate, for example, the sample scale, C major scale. I'm gonna do it in a faster tempo. So I will do 4 notes per bow. I'm just gonna do exactly what's written on the handout, but of course you can do one more octave if you're up to. I'm gonna do the 3 octave. So that was a faster scale. I would recommend that you do the major one or the one that you feel most comfortable in a faster tempo, and maybe the one that it's maybe newer to you and to most students. A minor scale would be less something that you don't learn the first thing. The teacher doesn't say, okay, learn minor scales at the first lesson. So most likely you started with major scales, so those are more comfortable to you. So use that scale to show us how you play a faster tempo. I would use the minor scale to play slower bow with beautiful sound, showing us how beautiful you can play your cello. So here is C minor, and this time I'm going to play 2 notes per bow, but fairly slow tempo. So C minor, here you go. Yeah, so nice and long, very calming. Make sure your shifts are not fast, are slow. When you play the scale, show us how you can play really, really clean and beautiful sound. I hope this was helpful. Please look for the excerpts because I do them separately, just because otherwise the videos will be quite long. So I hope this was helpful for your scale preparation. Excerpt number 1. Yes, that was the excerpt number 1. It's not an easy one. It's quite fast and repeats, but not always the same. So it's easy to kind of hit different notes. So the tempo marking that is mentioned in your handout is 150. I do recommend that you don't go that fast, but that you rather aim for more precision. So maybe a 140, it's acceptable, so that you really can capture all the articulation and dynamics and notes. Couple of things to note that you want to pay attention when you play this excerpt one is the crispness of the stroke. You see there are dots on top of all the notes. So the stroke should be really close to the string. If you see, I just kind of pluck the string with the bow. Also, you might notice that certain notes are louder than others, and that's because there is an accent on those notes. And it's actually every first note of each big beat. So some beats are longer, some beats are shorter, some beats have 3/8 notes, some 2/8 notes, but always the first of these groups it's accentuated. Basically, it wants to show that the measure changes, the meter changes. So that's 3, now 2, back to 3, yeah, again 2. Those are all every 2 notes. But so we bring this out by accentuating the first note of each group. Another thing is that we start in a louder dynamic, and then at A it's subito, staying softer, even though you still have to show those accents, like I said, just in a softer dynamic. And the very last note is a quarter note, so it's slightly longer than the rest of the notes that you just played. Couple of places for shifting is the last measure of the first line, which is measure 5. I go 4/1, 4/1, 4/1, 4/1. That's the fingering for that measure that I do. And the next measure, you can either keep the B there and then shift for the G with a 4, or already come to the first position. Let me show you how I mean. So measure 5 and downbeat of measure 6. Now B can be here with a 2, or it can be on the first string. And then you stay in the first position. The next place for fingering would be measure 11. I go with a 4/1 on the A flat. And then the B flat in the next measure, I go in the half position. Or first position with extension on the last B. But you can be 1, 1, 1, 4, 3, so it's a half position. Then the C gets a 1, and the A flat is on the D string, and then back to half position. Now back to A flat with 4. Both of A flat and F are on the D string, and then back to the first position. And this repeats starting in measure 19 again, and I do the same fingering. And all notes that are grouped in 3, so every beat that has 3/8 notes, I do the same bowing as is indicated in the first measure. So it would be down, up, up, and then the next beat, right? So down, up, up, if there are 3 notes in that beat. It's easier to do the accent. That's one reason why I try to keep it, even if it's not regular. So every time I have 3 notes, I do down, up, up, so then I really kick the first note, and the others are lighter. I hope this helped. Let's see the second excerpt. Excerpt number 2. Quarter note was asked to be at 1/14. It's not too fast. And I think just it's a little bit tricky in the first part of the excerpt between A and B to make sure that you find the right fingering. It's a little bit in between comfortable positions. And so what I found to be more helpful is to start with a 4 in the 4th position, so the C sharp. Remember to check the key signature of that appears on the next line. Is valid for the whole passage. So the C sharp, the first note, I play with a 4, C sharp, and then I go to the E with a 1, and I stay there for quite a while until the F sharp. So that would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th measure of this excerpt. I play F sharp with 2, and then I shift to a C sharp on the A string. And I play those 3 notes down there, and I shift back to the F sharp. So back to the 4th position. That's a 1, 3 harmonic, and I come back to a 2 on the E. And then again I shift to a 1 on F sharp and a 4 on the next E. And now here I go to a 1 in the 1st position, and I go to a 1 on the 2nd string just because I want to vibrate that note. But if that's not an option for you, you can just play the open string, but I play it on the 2nd string. Hopefully you could follow that. Just, rewind this video and try again to make sure you get all the fingerings, but you can choose other fingerings if they are more comfortable to you. At the letter B though, I would advise this pattern of fingering. I would do a 3 on the F sharp, 4, 1 on the G natural and E natural, and then I will go back to a 3 on the next F sharp. The third measure of B, I will do a 2 on the F sharp, so that I can reach G sharp with a 4 and E sharp with a 1, and then rest on the F sharp with 2 for the long F sharp. So that will place like this. So that was 3, 4, 1, 3. And now next measure 3 or letter B would be 2, 4, 1. Yeah, this pattern I keep for the next 4 measures as well. So C sharp we get a 3, and then D would have a 4 and a 1 on the G, on the B natural. So this would be 3, 4, 1, 3, and the next measure 2, 4, 1, 2, just like the previous 4 measures. So I keep the same pattern throughout, just because the C sharp or the F sharp stay the same, only the notes around them change. So then it's easier to keep the intonation in this passage. One more thing, dynamics. It's quite a difference between A and B. A is more melodic, it's not so loud, but it's melodic, and the melody is in the cello section, so you don't have to be too afraid. But then at B it's a little bit more with more accent, and it's fortissimo. So give it all. Don't scratch. I try not to play it ugly, but with a lot of accents. If you know, you can know those accents on the F sharp and the C sharp, right? And at the letter A, one more note, and then I'll let you go. One more note at letter A. If you notice, there are some notes that have a dash, a portato, we call this line on top of the note. So for example, the pickup of the excerpt, and every 8th note that it's a pickup to the next measure has a portato on top of it, which means you have to emphasize it a little bit. So if you notice, I kind of gave a little bit of a, not kick, but a lean onto that note. I'm sure you heard a little bit, and maybe you are wondering, what am I doing? But that's what's written, that's what the composer wanted to. I hope this was helpful, and good luck with the audition. Take care.